We are very thankful and grateful to ADP. They do a tremendous job with payroll and bringing in the human side of payroll. So we are grateful to ADP for being our champagne level sponsor this year.
We sure are, absolutely. And a huge thank you to AR Collect for sponsoring this episode and for bringing this amazing app to our viewers. I'm excited for you to demo this. It's a great solution, and I think everybody's going to be really excited about it.
Thank you, Heather. It's good to be here.
Yay! And so I have a slide for you, Ivan. So Ivan is the CEO and founder of AR Collect. He is a licensed CPA, and this is so cool. Like, this wasn't in the stuff that you gave us, Ivan, but I like kind of stalked you a little bit and found that you're a member of Mensa. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of a cool thing to be a member of.
Yeah, I'm quite shy about it. So only you and me know.
Well, now in the world.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your journey and why you started AR Collect. What was...
Okay. Yeah, so as soon as I qualified as a CPA, I got out into the real, I never practiced as a CPA as such. I got out and I was financial controller before becoming CFO of certain companies. And it was always a very time-consuming piece of work to manage receivables and keep track of them. And it was a high-risk area. In our particular business, we had a high volume of transactions that were going out and out in terms of days. I had 5 controllers telling me a story for each invoice, why it's not paid, for each customer, why it's not paid. And they used to do this. This was back in 2008 on a spreadsheet, and it was always out of sync with the actual live data. And there were cryptic clues that they used to write on these that only they knew what they meant, these notes of theirs. So it gave me the idea to integrate a proper solution with an accounting platform. And that's where AR Collect came from, was the pain of managing receivables, knowing it's a high risk area, and having and experiencing how long it took to actually do a good job of receivables management.
Well, and you know, that's the thing that's like, I feel where we avoid doing receivables because it's very time consuming. And you were just talking about every invoice has a story. And so how do we step into that and make it worthwhile the time? And plus, I'm not somebody who is going to be good ever at calling and trying to collect.
That's the worst. Yeah.
You know, I don't know that either one of you or anybody knows this about me, but one of my very first jobs in accounting was as the AR person for a auto parts company. Wow. And my job was collections and managing the receivables. And so it is a hard job. Yeah. And I did that for 4 years. And especially it being in the, dealing with auto body shops, it was a hard job. And so having a tool like this back then would have been fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I have one story I'll share with you that's a little scary, is that I had, when people didn't pay their invoices, we had to shut them off and not extend any more credit. Right. And I remember one person had kind of a potty mouth. And when I would tell him that we couldn't ship his order, he would yell at me and start swearing. And so the controller is like, this guy's swearing at me. He's like, just hang up. And so I would hang up and he'd call back and I'm like, all right, well, now we'll talk. And so he hung up, he kept calling back, and then he'd drop like, a 4-letter word, and I'd hang up. And finally, he actually sent somebody to the location looking for me. It was terrifying, but I'm okay. Wow. It was all okay, but it was a little scary. So, yeah.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because what we see is a lot of people do not want to call. So they'll send, they rely on automated emails, which are great, especially when you can't, because today you can't call everyone. It just takes too much time. But calls are very powerful. And when you make a call and you note it down on, and it's in part of your history, it starts adding up. So yeah, it's one of the tools. It's a great tool. Yeah, cool. Nice story.
So our agenda, we're going to talk about ways that we can increase our clients' cash flow and our own by managing AR risk. Then we'll raise a toast, then we have a coolest thing, and then we're going to have a preview of our next episode. So increasing cash flow, cash is king. We all know that. And if things slow down and your customers aren't paying you, that can really, handicap a business to a point in some cases where they just, they can't go on. And so, as the accounting professional, it's really up to us to both identify when there's an issue, right? And then be able to offer a solution for our clients to really bring the value to them.
I agree. And what I see a lot of times with my clients is that they get the invoicing done because that's the initial step. And I even saw it over in chat. There was a comment there. And so it's like my clients get the invoicing done, but then they're on to the next thing. And so they never turn around and they never look back. And so did they collect? They don't know. They're on to the next thing because they're so busy and there's not really enough of them to go around. And being external, it's really hard, or it has been hard, to be able to step into that spot.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times, having, in some cases, certainly, your firm can offer those types of collection services, but in other cases, it just makes more sense to give them the tools to enable someone on their team to take that role, because they know what's happening in the day-to-day operations. They know the orders, they know what's going on in the production of their company, right?
Absolutely. We see with our users, it's quite common to give the sales reps access to the AeroCollect portal and assign the customers to them that they represent, and they can get involved and see who's paying. We've had some of our customers actually link sales commissions to the collections, so they might withhold paying the commission until that invoice has been paid for. So it's a great motivator to get the sales reps involved, because they hate collecting. It's not their job. Their job is to sell. We understand that. But if you just open up that channel of communication between admin and sales, it's a big step in the right direction.
Well, I think, yeah, definitely. I mean, this isn't, I like, and that's actually one of the tips that I do give to my clients, is to have the sales team take some ownership of that. And the reason for that is that they're more careful when they're vetting a new customer, right? If they know that their commission is tied to whether or not the customer pays, then they're going to make sure they get that credit app, and they're going to make sure that they do their due diligence to make sure that it's, going to be a good customer before they sell and get the company into a tough spot. So that's also a really great conversation that you can have with your clients, is to give them ideas that, like that, because they may not have thought of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a comment on one of the chats. One of the viewers said they don't extend credit, they get paid up front, which is the best way to manage your receivables. But what we see is when you deal with bigger companies, they do not pay up front. It's just the way they do business. So,
which means that there could be a huge delay.
Right.
Yeah. So you can't get away from receivables, especially if you're growing. It's right. One of those things.
Yeah, there's I'm going to drop a link in the chat. I have to go into the deck to find it for everybody. But I was actually looking, when I was preparing this presentation, I was looking at, risks and AR, and Dun and Bradstreet actually does a quarterly report about that benchmark certain industries and how companies are reporting their outstanding receivables. And that's also a really great tool for us accountants to benchmark our clients' receivables against others in their industry, to tell them, are you guys hitting the mark? Do you need to do better, and maybe help find them some resources to, like AR Collect, and make some suggestions for better practices to help get them in line with their competition, right?
For sure.
But I'll drop that link in just a moment if everybody wants to take it. And they do that quarterly, and it goes by industry, and it shows what industries are really struggling. And I was looking at the Q1 for 2021, and it was really interesting because it was showing that a lot of companies have really bounced back, which was really great, but others are still really struggling. So
it's interesting because I'm trying to remember where I read it, like which book was it? But one of the readings was talking about different industries have different risk levels. And so if you're in a high risk industry, then your receivables are extra important to be cognitive of. And then you run into that cash flow issue. And so, there was a suggestion of, if you're at one of those high risk industries, to be able to say, okay, how much cash flow do we need on hand to just be able to survive?
Right. Yeah, we see quite a number of our users are in construction or in the building industry, because they're a high risk industry. Builders often, if you're a building, if you supply construction materials, builders are notoriously short of cash flow. So you've got to manage them tightly. So, yep,
Definitely.
that industry is a risky one. In fact, I remember reading an article a while back about the way big corporates pay the smaller guys and what pressure it puts their cash flow under. And there was an initiative during the days of Obama when they actually encouraged big business to be nice, big corporates to be nice to the smaller guys so that they survive and thrive. So it caught the attention of government.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. And that was fantastic, because it is hard. These big corporate clients and customers are really valuable to the business, but if they're not paying for 60, 90 days, that's really really hard for a small business, for sure.
You got it.
This slide, I think, really illustrates it. I got it from this Canova Bank Corp, but I've seen it all over the place. And really what it's showing us here is how the value of an invoice goes down the older that it is. And so, if we look at the $100 here, or 100%, and we put that we equate that with $100, we can see that even when it's 0 to 30, it's not at 100%. The risk is 92% that you're going to actually collect that entire $100. And as time goes by, you can see that the value of that receivable drops pretty drastically. And the biggest drop is here after 90 days, when you go down to 120 days. And when you get past 120 days, the value of that is really 5%. So $100 sale now worth $5. So this is a really big issue, and making sure that our clients are staying on top of their receivables is so important.
Yeah, that's a great point, because what I do see as well, people underestimate. So if you look at their over 90 day, the percentage of customers that are over 90 days, even if it's a small percentage, that represents their profit margin for all their sales. And they're not seeing that. They think, no, we're great. We've got 95% or 80% have paid on time. But that last bit actually represents a big chunk of your profit margin. So you're selling for vanity if you're not collecting all your receivables.
That's a really great point. Yeah, definitely.
Great.
So we can add value as the accounting pros by helping to collect on those receivables. And it doesn't mean that you have to pick up the phone and start making collection calls for your clients. That's not what we're saying here at all. But there's definitely ways. I think the first way, and I think all three of us agree, and all of you that are joining us today agree, that that's starting the conversation, right? It's looking at the financials, looking at the state of their receivables, and starting that conversation and letting them know that there's things they can do to mitigate that.
Totally.
So Liz and I thought it would be, good to start by going through some features in QuickBooks Online that you may or may not be aware of. Some of them are actually at least one of them is actually pretty new. Two of them are newish, that can really help you if you're just using QuickBooks Online. One of them is the automatic invoice reminders. That's very new. I think that's new definitely within the last 6 months, but it might actually be shorter than that. The QuickBooks Payments, so the ability for your clients to click and pay. You send the invoice, they're like, pay now, get it out of my inbox. That really helps. And late fees, which I'm not a huge fan of late fees because I personally don't feel like they work very well. And then the collections report, which is in the report center for, for all of, I think the collection, Liz, do you know if the collections report is added at a certain, oh, she's froze. I'm looking at her and she's froze. Now you're here twice. I was asking you a question and I'm like, wait, she's not moving.
But I'm back.
I was asking the question about the collections report in QuickBooks. Is it available? Do you know off the top of your head if it's available in all QuickBooks Online versions?
Ooh, I don't. That's a great question. I think I could go look at that, but it would make sense that it's not. It would probably be one of those higher level features.
That's what I'm thinking too. But it's a great report. I'm going to show you a picture of it in just a moment. So we're just going to spend a couple of minutes going through these features. Veronica's sharing that she uses the automatic invoice reminders. So that's fantastic. So we're going to talk about those first. These are found, you find the automatic invoice reminders and you enable them in the gear icon, accountant settings. You're going to click on sales and then under reminders. And this is new-ish, right? It's a pretty new feature. You turn them on and then
Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And the automated invoice reminders, you can select reminder 1, which is 3 days before the due date, and you can change, this is all customizable. Reminder 1, 2, and 3, it'll come right out of QuickBooks, and you can modify what the default message is. So if you didn't know about it, anybody not know that this was in here and new? This is kind of a cool feature. I have a couple of clients that are using that in their business as well.
So I'm looking at the automatic reminders, and I'm not in I'm just in a Plus client, and they have it.
The Plus definitely has it. I'm just not sure if Simple Start or Essentials has it.
I'm going to go look.
Okay. And then the next one is QuickBooks Payments. So QuickBooks Payments, it's free. It's kind of life-changing, and Intuit has done studies and they say that you get your money twice as fast than when you're sending paper invoices, because a lot of people are like me, and when I see the invoice come through, I want to click that pay now button and not have to worry about it later, not worry about, it being late or whatever. So I know a lot of my clients are exactly the same way. They see that it needs to be paid. They just want to get it out of there. Now, not always and we're not talking about accounts payable today, but I don't know. In some cases, if somebody's cash flow needs it, you may want to encourage them to do the full 30 days, but I do know the payments definitely works. The late fees, this is new-ish. It's been around for at least a year, maybe even 2 years now. And what that does is that'll apply a charge to an overdue invoice. You do have some customization options here. You can select whether it's going to be a flat fee on the invoice or a percentage of the remaining balance. And then you can put in what the percentage or flat fee is and the frequency, if it's just once for invoice or if it's going to be monthly or whatever. And then you can also put a grace period. So if it's saying the grace period after the date of the due date, late fees aren't going to accumulate for a certain amount of time. And then you can also change the name. So like I said, I personally am not a fan of late fees because in my opinion, what ends up happening 95% of the time is that I end up writing off the late fees and the customer doesn't pay them anyway. So it just creates more work. And I also feel like it creates bad will between the customer and the company, right? Because, and honestly,
That's interesting.
I don't know.
I mean, we've never really talked about that, but it is kind of an interesting thought that are you hitting them at a bad spot or is the person not responding? So I almost feel like it's a bit on a case-by-case basis.
I think you're right. I think in some industries it's the norm, but in other industries it's not. And so for a smaller company to be charging a late fee typically I do not see that it works. I would say, like I said, 95% of the time when I'm working with an SMB client that uses late fees, I'm writing them off. So
agree.
And they're difficult to go and adjust too. So
they are difficult to go and adjust, definitely.
Yeah.
So, but it's there if you need it. And in some industries it's standard. And in that case, now we have that feature. And clearly people wanted the feature because if people didn't want late fees, Intuit wouldn't have put it in QuickBooks Online. So just my opinion.
Good point.
And then this is the collection report. So the collection report includes a detail of the invoices. It shows you, this is our demo company, but really late invoices. And it gives you the phone number, on the collection report. So it's nice. And, you know, the other cool thing is if you have somebody that's in charge of, you know, the collections or whatever, and they're doing it in QuickBooks Online. Once you see AR Collect, you're gonna want to do it there. But if they're doing it here, you can actually set this up as a automated grouped report, right? A scheduled grouped report is what it's called, and have it sent to that person so they don't even need access to QuickBooks, because this gives them all the information they need to make those phone calls, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add, Liz?
No, I followed up on looking at the different levels of subscriptions and if they offered that reminders, and they do. So
Great.
that's interesting. Yep. So
yeah, that is interesting.
mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. So now all of you are going, oh, this is all great, Heather and Liz and Ivan, but how do we charge our clients for it? That's the you know, the question when we're talking about these new services. So you could include this as part of your monthly fee. You know, there's a lot of talk about pricing your services with package pricing, you know, and making sure that you're using engagement letters to say, here's the service that I'm engaged to do with you for this particular price. And if this is something outside of what you've engaged, now you have a new product that you can sell, right? So you could include it as part of your monthly fee, and maybe they get a higher tier plan that includes collections and, you know, managing receivables. You could offer it as an add-on service with a flat fee. Or I know a friend of mine, she does a percentage of the collected amount. So that was her deal. She was like, hey, if you give me, I don't remember what it was, I think it was like 2 or 3%. You give me 2 or 3% of whatever I collect. They agreed to that. And because, I mean, they had all these old AR amounts sitting there. And so she actually was making, you know, quite a bit of money from some of our clients by being the collection agency. Awesome. Yeah.
Or I like the idea of bundling. I mean, that feels like it would be one of those things that'd be a nice deliverable to be able to provide. Mm-hmm. And whenever you've got those new clients coming on, it's like, this is a pain point. And this has not been one that our industry has wanted to tackle.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right. And then the third way is to provide the tech. So you recommend a product like AR Collect, which you're about to see, which is awesome. And then you mark it up. So if you buy AR Collect, and we'll talk about the pricing after Ivan does his demo, but you provide it to them, and then you can make a little money by marking it up, or include it in what you're providing to your client.
Yeah, because it's absolutely valuable.
Totally valuable.
I mean, even if you think about us, I look at some of the, you know, every year we have a little bit that we write off. And so not fun, but it happens. And so even with us, it's like, okay, yeah, I know that there's a couple of features that I could go and do, but being able to say, I like the idea of adding tech, because then it takes out the human part of having that feeling that you're like, ooh, yuck. It's just taken care of for you. And I that's the thing that I think the automation really helps to solve the human feelings about it.
I think you're right. It removes the emotion.
It does.
Which makes it easier.
Absolutely.
And it's a huge upsell for clients.
It is a huge upsell for sure. So it's time for our drink. Yay.
I don't know about you, but oh my gosh, this drink is gorgeous. I absolutely love it.
I don't have one in a coconut, but I wish I did.
Me too. And so my thing is I want this drink in the pool. So that's where I want to go. It's making me say, all right, I want outside. And now that I know it's in the 90s, it's like, I want to go to the pool.
You know,
have some rum.
Liz and I are going to Florida in September, and you and I will have to find a Pina Collect in a coconut, and then we'll post it on social media for everybody.
I can't wait.
And we'll tag AR Collect and say, we got our
beautiful drink.
It is. It's absolutely lovely. And I like rum. It's a good
ditto. Gives a great
drink.
Hangover. Okay. Cool. Okay. So that's a good drink.
Awesome.
And, yeah, let's go to the next one.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to hand things over to you, Ivan, and I'm going to be Vanna. Just tell me when to click and I shall click for you.
Okay. Let me get to the right screen. So we're going to share the screen.
You going to share? Do you want me to stop sharing?
One sec. I'll tell you where are we. Hold on.
I like the graphic, the blast off.
I do, the little rocket ship. I love it.
Share screen.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Okay. I'm ready when you are.
So I'm gonna. Do you want me to go ahead and stop the share, or you want me to just click for you? Okay. Stop the share.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, got it.
Okay, now I've got to share the screen here.
We had a great group today.
Okay.
Lots of friends today.
So, can you see the AR summary page that we're on?
We can, yes.
Okay, great. So, what's really cool about this page is you can see everything in one place. So when we talk about great visibility and you want to see what all your collections or activities have been, you're in the right place. Everything here is dynamic. Whatever you click on will yield a result. So we should just go from left to right. If we start with a customer name, you can see it's in green. That means it's been categorized. So these mean, you can customize what they mean. So I'll show you what I mean. We can go, whoops, I jumped out of that. There. You can give the labels whatever is meaningful to you, and either by region, by person, or the type of payment they are, or type of payer they are. And once you've categorized them, then you can sort it. And then you can do all sorts of things. So if you want to email all your guys in New York, click on New York and it will filter it, and you can send an email shot using the appropriate template. I see Zoom's eating up our bandwidth, but you would send an email just, oh, I haven't got any New Yorks categorized here. So that makes sense. But once you filter it, you can send an email that's appropriate to that group. As far as clicking on the name goes, it's really taking time to load, and this is weird. Let me go to.
Well, I was having a Zoom issue a minute ago, so that was my same thing.
I'm going to skip. Let's see if I can switch to another company. So you can manage multiple companies very easily. You just add multiple connections. So you can see I've got 2 companies listed here.
Nice.
So let's just refresh.
We like being able to toggle.
Yeah, easy to toggle, and you can assign customers to their respective companies. So if you've got 10 companies that you're managing, you can also let your users or your customers sign in to AR Collect directly, and they only will see the company that you've assigned to them.
Do you know, Ivan, my internet is also really slow. Do we want to switch to slides just to...
This is weird, isn't it?
If it's not...
Looking...
You know what it is? Yeah. Wait. Isn't this Prime Day?
It is.
They did this last year. They are. Prime is getting it all right now.
They're taking all of our bandwidth.
Let's give it 3 seconds.
I told my clients to stay away from Prime. I was like, no.
Okay, there we are. So,
there you go.
So there's my little company. So Air Canada, if I click on that, wow, it still shows loading. This is really weird. So, okay, there it is.
Nice.
So bottom line, you can put in the email address. We've got a dedicated address book for all the different email addresses that you might want. So whatever is in blue pulls through from QuickBooks, and these fields in white, you can add additional email addresses and save them. You can add multiple. We've got a dedicated space for this, but you can do it on the fly, as I'm showing you right here. And in the screen as well, you can make your notes. So call today. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, and save it. So straight away, it appears on the AR summary page itself, which is pretty neat for seeing the latest. So you can see your last note was made on the 22nd, and that's what we said. And if you click on it, there's your history that will appear if it loads. It's terrible. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So while we're on the screen, just talking about the importance of notes, you never lose the history of the notes. So this can go back years, and we've got customers literally who have got notes going back years, and it serves them in good stead. They can see customer behavior, and if people are messing them around, asking for the same thing all the time, etc.
We like seeing trends.
Yeah. What else you can do, which is neat, is when you send an email out to your customers and they respond on the customer portal, whatever notes or whatever comments they put on the portal appear back in this table here. So you're keeping track of all customer responses right where you need it to be. Action notes, you can assign a date to an action note, and it makes it easy to follow up on that given date. I'm not going to go into that, but it does exist. So let's just go back to our summary. If you click on any balance, it will show you what's in that balance. If it loads, be good. Wow. Who would figure this one out?
Well, I think it's
normally
those.
it's actually
We're blaming
instant.
Amazon.
It's
Yeah.
click and you get the
100%.
display.
There you go.
Yeah. So it also, there's a good example, it pulls up the unapplied payments if there are any, which we don't really want. They're bad. We don't want unapplied payments. They mess your accounts up in a big way and irritate customers. But there it is. This edit PTP stands for promise to pay, but it's actually got quite a bit of flexibility. You can assign reasons for non-payment and categorize a whole bunch of invoices with the reason that it's late. These are all customizable. And there's a report.
That's done in the settings. You would set up these predefined reasons in the settings.
Exactly. Under settings, you can change the reasons and add new reasons that fit the business. And then again, pull the report that makes sense to you. So
that's awesome. So you just said the magic word report. So if I wanted to look across trends for this particular client and see what the most common reason for non-payment, I'd be able to do that. That's really cool.
Yeah, so there's the one I've just saved right now. Once you get some data in here, you can obviously sort it according to the reason code, and then it becomes more meaningful. So back to our aging summary.
That would even tell you internal data. So one of the options there was customer expectations not met. It's like, if that happened repeatedly and you had a trend there, that would be an internal thing that we would need to address.
A product effective.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Quality control.
It is. That is exactly it. It's not just about managing receivables. It helps you manage your business better. That's how we like to see it. It's a tool that you should be using daily to manage your business better.
And you're in your customer relationships, right? So it's definitely managing your business, but also, documenting your customer relationships so that you can provide better service. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've got the date of the last email, 6/22. And if I click on that, we'll have a history here of all the emails that were sent. So you can see how often you've been emailing your customer. And again, it just tells a story. So you can see there are 3 tabs while we're on this pop-up. There's contact notes, email history, and invoice notes. So the invoice notes are specific to the invoice. And even when the invoice gets paid, so that was Heather making a note on an invoice. This came through from the portal. So we sent a reminder through to Heather. She put in a comment on invoice 1050, and there's her comment. So you never lose this history. Once that invoice gets paid, it will still be here. So, and we often see that customers need that. They want the history, even though the account might be paid up to date.
I agree with that. It's like being able to see the notes, that's one thing, but being able to see the history of the activity all in one place instead of having to open up every single individual invoice to see that activity.
Correct.
And the other thing, talking about the portal, Ivan, I love the portal. And the other thing that I love, which I know you're going to show in a minute, is that where I was going to go with this is it syncs with QuickBooks Payments. So it's still using the same payment processor that you were using in your QuickBooks Online company, which is
exactly.
really cool.
Yeah. And so let me actually show the users or our
Yeah.
viewers what that looks like. So
Great.
let me go to one of my payment reminders and share that. It's a new share, and that will be my payment reminder. Okay, can you see the payment reminder on this, on your end? Great. Okay, so this is what a payment reminder looks like, and what's neat about this is that all the open invoices are listed in one place. With QuickBooks, you can set up your auto reminders, etc., but it won't group everything in one email. So if they've got 10 invoices that are outstanding, it will send 10 emails. We'll send all 10 invoices in one email.
I
But
love that because Ivan, that is one of the most requested things I hear from my clients is I want to send, like my clients want to be able to pay all of their invoices in one batch and they can't. And yet they're getting like a zillion emails every time you send a reminder. So this is awesome.
And they don't know which ones are current. They don't
Right.
know which ones are aged out the
Right.
most. It's confusing.
Yeah, that's why we include the days past due here. So
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I think Amazon has taken over the world.
Yeah.
I was
not
looking at one of.
Oh, there he is. You're back. You disappeared for a minute.
Oh, wow.
Now you're back.
Okay, good. I must go and check that no one else is on this internet eating my bandwidth. Okay, so I was saying we recently added custom fields that we pull through from QuickBooks. It's automatic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so someone triggered my alarm. Will you just give me 1 sec? I want to just switch the alarm off.
Of course.
It's off. Okay, it's off. Problem is solved.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so as I was saying, these are all customizable columns, and we've got a lot more. I'll show the viewers where that comes from. But if I click on the portal, that's where we were. Oh yeah, before I click on the portal, while I'm on this page, these invoices all have links. So the customer can actually click on here and pay the invoice through QuickBooks Payments straight away. It's probably awesome. Now not showing you that. I need to share that screen with you. There it is. So it will go directly to the screen.
Right to the invoice.
Okay,
That's amazing.
So they can pay with QuickBooks Payments instantly if it's a single invoice. But if they want to pay 10 invoices in one go, then they would use our portal and select the invoices that they wanted to pay. So if I go back to my previous that email, am I showing you the email yet, or must I?
No, we're still seeing the QuickBooks Payments screen.
Okay, let's go back here, share it. So if I click on the portal link, which is this, it will take me to. Let me just open that screen.
What would we do without our multiple monitors?
I know, right?
There we are. Can you see the portal?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if I had activated, so on this is a test account, so I haven't activated QuickBooks Payments on this end, just on the one end, but there would be an additional column here that actually shows the amount that you would like to pay. And you could adjust it or leave it as is. And then at the bottom, there would be a total amount, and you click on pay and you pay all in one go. And then AR Collect will automatically send our user a remittance advice showing all the invoices that have just been paid by the customer. And yep.
Ivan, does it send the payments back to QuickBooks when they pay in bulk, or is that something?
Yes, totally. It's all taken care of on the back end.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, everything. So AR Collect, by the way, AR Collect is always in sync with QuickBooks. It's one click and you're on the same page as QuickBooks. So if an invoice is paid in QuickBooks, you refresh your data in AR Collect and it's done.
So that's a really tight integration.
Yeah, we integrate specifically with QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. Online is really simple. QuickBooks Desktop, we use the web connector.
So desktop and online, folks, for all our desktop
and
users.
it's great. We do have actually, surprisingly, we've got a lot of users on desktop because a lot of big customers or big companies haven't moved across to online yet.
And you also mentioned that construction is one of the industries that's high risk.
True.
Well, most of them, or at least in my world, ours are still inside of desktop.
That's so true. We've got one desktop customer who's got 20 companies that have in the group that have signed up. So they're big. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and then as I was saying, your notes, so your customer response note could go in here for the invoice, or as a general note, they could make a note at the bottom. And as soon as they click on send, it populates the notes inside AR Collect automatically, and you don't lose the customer response. It's not sitting in an email somewhere that you have to dig it up. So it's that the whole idea of everything being in one place and visibility for everybody concerned.
Nice.
All right. So let's go back then to, I'm going to go back and share my screen with AR Collect. Okay. Did I share the same one? There it is. Okay. I'm back on the AR summary page. Are we all on the same page, or have I frozen?
You are great.
You are good.
Okay, cool.
Yep, you are good.
All right. So I just wanted to touch on the flexibility that AR Collect has got, because you guys did show that QuickBooks have upped their game. They've added a lot of new features for managing receivables or sending out reminders at least. What we've got is you can either send from the AR summary page, and you can filter it according to the aging bucket if you wanted to. So if I had to say, okay, show me only the 31 to 60-day buckets, I could focus on that and then email those guys in one click. So it's just a matter of how easy is this to do it. And we can select the template that goes with it from here. So these templates are all customizable, and everything that's in the email you can control.
That's nice. So that's part of that setup. And so you could go through and you can say, okay, at this point, friendly reminder, and then there's a nudge.
Yeah. Right. So, and what we found is the general rule is be friendly. It's just, it always backfires. Whenever we see our customers getting really nasty or sending a very stern warning out, it comes back at them. So the main thing is really to be nice and just be persistent. Remind them every few days, which is very easy to do with AR Collect.
And make it not personal.
Yeah, we've got this escalation option. So I'll go to automatic payment reminders.
I like this. This is one of the reasons that I'm a big fan, is because of these automatic reminders that after so many days do this.
Right. So, and it's so simple to set it up here. So you can say, okay, everybody that's 1 day past due, get a reminder. We actually have a lot of companies that say, let's send it out 5 days prior to the due date. And we'll, under our escalation, you can say, well, send out, we won't call it a friendly reminder. We would call it a pre-reminder of upcoming invoices that are due. So once you've sent out the prior to 5, you just say, okay, follow up in 5 days time when it will become due. And then it will send the second template out. And that's how simple it is to set it up. We've got this option where you can stop sending after a given number of emails, because AR Collect used to be like a bulldog and never stop sending. So you could, anything that's open, if you didn't actually stop the email, it would carry on. So we've done this, and after 9 emails, we'll email you and tell you that, oh, this customer needs your personal attention, you should give them a call or something. But you'll get a notification from AR Collect that nothing's happening, the emails aren't working, you got to do something different. Okay, and this table builds up. It tells you when your next email is due, when your last one went off, so that's pretty neat. And it's what you see is what you get. We've got some neat things like a do not email list. If you've got sensitive customers, you can put them on the do not email list, and invalid email addresses, you can click on that. It will tell you what's happening on that score.
I really like the idea of sending a pre-reminder. I mean, in our industry, that's great. And to be able to set that up automatically, because that doing the work, it's like sometimes that it takes resources to do that. Human time resources is what I mean. And then, you know, there's only so much of that to go around. And it was going back to what I was saying earlier. It's like that jumping from task to task. Invoicing sometimes gets put on the back burner. And this makes it where the invoice gets sent out.
True.
The reminders get sent out. Yeah, they just get brushed aside. Definitely. There's also reports. I love the reports, and you have like a dashboard, Ivan, right? With that shows
so
some metrics.
It's a very straightforward dashboard, but it shows you what counts. So how many contact notes you've made, I think that's a good one, and how many payment reminders have been sent out in the last few weeks. The cash flow forecast is based on promise to pays. So that actually means you would need to ask your customers when they're paying. So if they promise to do a payment on Friday, you could put that in the PTP and it would show up on this report, on this graph.
And typically you're going to get that from, you know, if the email, I mean, the customer could email you back and tell you, or they're typing it in. Or if you're doing the collection calls. I remember when I was doing collections, that was one thing that we had to do. It was part of my job, was you have to ask for a date, like when you're going to mail it out. And
so true.
In, right?
Yes.
So,
and we have a question that's saying, do you have many people that are on the do not email list? And, you know, I would say I have clients that have subscriptions. And even those clients that have subscriptions, only every once in a while do they run into somebody who says that they want to have a snail mailed invoice. I mean, I don't run into that very often.
It all depends. Sometimes it depends what kind of business you're in. So sometimes the customer is not happy with the service. Okay, that's another story. You don't want to email them, or they've actually asked you not to email them, so you'd put them on that list. But we've actually had requests for do not email specific invoices. So I'll show you what that looks like on a more granular view. You could say, okay, this invoice, and this one, the first three, do not email that invoice at all. It might be that it's not due. You know, what we've seen is some of our customers invoice in advance, well in advance, but they don't want to send a reminder out. And that's where this comes in. So they can say, do not email. And then they can still put it on auto. Everything's on auto, but they don't have to worry that they'll be worrying the customer. So we try and not bug the customers unnecessarily.
It also could be like intercompanies too, right? If you have intercompany transactions, you don't necessarily want to email reminders to yourself. That would be on the do not email list.
And so while we're on the screen, this screen as well, it's different to the aging summary, but it lets you on a more granular level select which invoices you want to be emailing at any time. So it will batch them together, but you can just select them. You could sort it by number of days past due. You could filter it according to the number of days past due. So I could say, okay, only show me the guys that are 10 to 30 days. So there's lots of different ways of managing it. And then I'll say, okay, email everybody and send them a nudge. And that's how simple it is. One click and you're done. So besides the auto email, if you sign in, you can send out the emails on demand really quickly and really easily.
Nice. And I like the idea of the one that's right below nudge is, did you forget about us? I mean, that's a friendly way of saying, hey, we did something for you.
True. So that is so true. You got to value your service.
So I'm going to go ahead and launch our poll so that folks that would like to learn more about AR Collect can answer that. And I also just want to take a minute. I have a couple of slides that I'm going to show, but we're actually going to do a deep dive of AR Collect next week. So if you guys are interested in learning soup to nuts how to implement AR Collect and use it, you know, either in your practice or with your clients, you can join us. It's actually in 2 weeks, not next week. Or is it next week, Liz?
I think it's next week.
It is next week.
29th.
Okay, yeah. Yep,
yes.
29th. Yep. So
Okay.
love to see you guys on that as well.
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to leave that up for about a minute. And then I'm going to I'm going to take over the screen share, Ivan.
Sure, go for it.
So we can finish it out.
Yeah, thank you.
And just going to count everybody down in just about 5 seconds. So if you haven't voted, go ahead and vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm going to go ahead and end that poll. All right, awesome. So 3 ways to work with clients using AR Collect. You could resell it. You get, let me back up to the pricing. Where's the pricing? Oh, it's right here. So let's go forward to the pricing. You could resell it. We'll talk about that in a minute. You could also offer the full service AR services or do consulting on AR. So collect. So automation is and Satterley Training Consulting is my primary service. And so I get a lot of clients that come and say, hey, I want a client portal, or I want a way that people can pay all of their invoices in one batch, or they're looking to increase their accounts receivable. This is great. And then can you tell us a little bit about the pricing, Ivan?
Sure. So basically the second company, as you can see there, there's a typo. It says $9.95. So QuickBooks Online, the first company is $29.95, and where it says add $9.95 for each additional company, it's $16.95. That's really
okay.
the first time I'm seeing this. I'm gonna have to reach out to our support guys. But it's the bottom line is there's a $14 markup if you add additional companies. So your customer or your client would be paying $29.95, but you would be paying $16.95.
Gotcha. So then you would have a $13 markup. Awesome.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that's unlimited. Everything's unlimited.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Ivan. That was fantastic, and I'm really excited for
guys.
the deep dive next week.
And and look forward to that.
Me too. Oh, go ahead. I was just saying I'm excited about it because I like doing here's what it is, and then we're going to come back and say, here's how to do it.
Right. Here's how to do it. Definitely. Veronica is looking forward to that deep dive. So awesome. So our coolest thing, I just started using this in my firm last week. I found it via Facebook. Thank you, Facebook. And I was like, what is that? And I went and I fell in love with it, introduced my team to it, and they are all absolutely in love with it. So what is it? It's called Hugo. There is a free version. And what it does is if you use Google Calendar, it syncs to your Google Calendar and it automatically creates agendas that you can set up with templates. So there's templated agendas that you can assign to each one of your appointments. And then it opens up, you can invite all the members of the meeting, including your team, your clients, and then you can actually take notes in real time. Everybody's collaborating in one space. You can upload files, you can add to-do notes over on the right-hand side. And then when you save it, it saves all of that interaction from the meeting. And what I love about it is that it's when I go into my Google Calendar appointment, there's a little button that says meeting notes. You just click on it and Hugo opens right up, and then you can select a meeting type template, which is the agenda format, and then you just start filling in the details. So it's really fast and easy to get the agenda and let everybody that's going to be in the meeting know what's going on. It is also on Zapier, which made me infinitely happy. So when you save one of these, you can send all that data from that agenda and that note somewhere else. There's a Slack integration. It also integrates with a bunch of other apps as well. And did I mention there's a free version? There's a free version. So we're really enjoying this. So I'm really enjoying it. It was easy to set up. It's been really awesome to use. We have a weekly team meeting, and there's a weekly team meeting template that we used, and it worked great. And
Nice.
so I'm a huge fan. So check it out. I've only been using it a week, so I like it so far, but it was cool enough for me to say, hey, take a look at this.
I like the idea of the meeting template notes. I mean, it being integrated with the call. Well, that's one of the things that we're doing right now is we'll show up to our what we call discovery meetings with clients, and we need a way to be able to easily share out our notes. So this is
and to
great.
Standardize it. Like these are all the things that you need to ask. Like if you're doing, say you're meeting with a client to do a QuickBooks conversion, you could have your whole checklist in this meeting thing saying, first, we're going to go through your company information. You can upload files and do all kinds of cool stuff. So it's pretty awesome. There's also a paid version. We haven't needed that yet. And again, I've only been using it a week, but I thought it was a really cool app. So I made it the coolest thing. So, and then I'm not sure what this is. Liz, I don't know if you put that in from before, because that was in the deck when you had started it. Was that real, or was that something?
I missed it because I was looking at Hugo.
Gotcha.
Got me interested.
The daily special. I wasn't sure if that was real or not.
I'm not sure that that's up to date. So
Okay,
I think that it was something that we were talking about previously.
Okay, cool. Just making sure, because it was in there, and I'm like, I'm not sure that's something that's real. So great. All right. So thank you, everybody. Right. This was awesome. I'm super duper duper excited. One of the nice things about AR Collect is there is a 30-day free trial, which is actually a lot longer than most apps. Usually we get 10 or 14 days, but we get a 30-day free trial, which is awesome. Make sure you visit our website, theappyhour.com. That's where you can find our recordings and our slides and our drink recipes and blog articles and all kinds of cool stuff. So definitely do that. And don't forget to visit AR Collect's website. It's arcollect.net, not .com, just for everybody. And join our Facebook group and register for Zoom. If you're on Facebook right now, register for our Zoom. You can find the link right in the event page, because we're having a big old chat in here in Zoom, and it's a lot of fun. So deep dive next week, June 29th, 4 o'clock. We're going to go soup to nuts how to use it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you'll leave really understanding how to use AR Collect. So that'll be fantastic. Upcoming in July, we have 3 amazing ADP deep dive sessions. We're going to be talking about the ADP Accountant Partner Program on July 7th. Then on the 14th, we're going to do the ADP Accountant Connect deep dive. And there's some new fabulous features that if you've seen ADP Accountant Connect, there's new features in it that you're going to love. And then on the 21st, we're going to talk about how to grow your practice with ADP's HR advisory tools. So how many times does a client call you up and say, hey, how much should I pay this person? Or can I do this can I say this to my employees? Well, guess what? They have a whole department for that and a bunch of tools that you can use to help with that. And then we also have on July 13th, we're going to be talking about how do you create templates and migrate data with Rewind. So they now have a backup and restore feature where you can back up and restore to a new company file. So we're going to be talking about how do you create a template that you can then populate new QuickBooks Online accounts. So that's going to be a really cool episode. You don't want to miss that.
I'm excited about that.
I am too. Very excited. So thank you so much, Ivan. This was fantastic. What a great conversation.
Yeah, you guys were great hosts. So thank you for having me on the show. It was so fun to be here. Thanks again.
Well, and we appreciate you fighting through the Amazon Prime internet and showing us, because we love seeing it. Even if there's the swirling that happens, we love seeing the tech in action. So
great.
Well done.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Have an awesome rest of your day. We'll see you in a week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.